my god, it's Tony Stark!
Oh, great. Mr. Wonderful's here.
Well, well, well. If it isn't Ironing Man himself.
Cute boots and belt, super fat.
We are talking about the movie FARCE Wars, Avengers of Justice. So clearly this movie is a parody movie of the kind of superhero movement that's happening, but adding a few more things like Star Wars as well. And this one is directed by Jarrett Tomoow and actually has a couple of recognisable names here. I would say most notable among them is Shawn Michaels from WWE, WWF fame. He plays a kind of spoof Yoda character. In regards to the kind of the other actors and actresses, the kind of one I recognise probably is Amy Smart, who's been in a couple of, you know, bit of an indie film darling. But there are a few other guys here who had a kind of like a few small roles here and there. And the story, air quotes, it focuses, it's actually kind of a little bit like The Incredibles. It has this kind of, this family of superheroes, and they've kind of fallen on hard times, and the dad, I think it was called like Superbat, not very original, but let's go with it. And you know, he's got his wife played by Amy Smart, his two teenage kids who are both sort of turned 17, and this kind of Joker style character called Dark Jokester, who works for a Empress / Thanos kind of villain, essentially seduces the kind of the son over to the farce side. The naughty side, the dark side ultimately, and you know, obviously it's up to the heroes to band together. So that's actually very kind of obviously loose plot. Not that anyone's going to watch this for plot, but I feel like I had to kind of run through it with you. So what's this film like? So this is obviously a very low budget film. It isn't the first superhero parody we've had. We've had the specials, obviously we've had superhero movies, probably the most high profile one. This is a very low budget one. And let me just tell you the type of humour that this kind of has on it, because I think it will give you an idea about what you're looking at here. So the jokes in this movie really fall into the kind of like the changing a word to make it sound funny kind of camp. So instead of the dark side of the force, it's the naughty side of the farce. Instead of let's see, Tony Stark, you've got Tony Starch, stuff like that. Lisp Luthor instead of Lex Luthor, who of course lisps. So that's your kind of like, if that's the kind of humour that might tickle you, then this is the movie for you. It isn't a graphic movie. I actually think this would be okay for kids, and that's probably who will get the most from it, because it's the jokes are very silly and there's nothing really sexually explicit or anything like that. So I feel actually it's probably a kind of a fairly safe movie to put on for kids who might be mildly amused by, who like sort of superhero things. The jokes are all like, you know, fart jokes and stuff like that. There are a couple of good ones here. The Tony Stark character, who I loved, he was called Irony Man. That was genius, that one. I'll give him that. Irony Man, brilliant. And I actually quite like his character, though sadly they don't use him that much. But you know, there's quite a big cast here, and it actually does have a bit of a plot. Not that you'd watch it for the plot, but the jokes here is obviously what the main thing is. And yes, it's very much kind of essentially taking lines and kind of characters from higher budget DC and Marvel stuff, but also, you know, Star Wars, things like that, a few other kind of movies as well, and just kind of like having kind of like comedy versions of things like that. Now obviously being a parody, they can kind of get away with doing, you know, stuff without having to worry too much about copyright, because that's what you can do. You know, so to me it was mildly diverting, but the kind of the jokes that landed for me personally were sort of few and far between. I do think it's aiming at a kind of a younger audience, and I do actually think well, let me put it like this. I think if I was a kid and I watched this, I would probably enjoy it, but I feel maybe kids today are actually probably a little bit more sophisticated and used to essentially higher budgets to stuff. Whereas I was kind of like quite happy with low budget Ultraman and Godzilla when I was a kid. But these days I don't know. But all I can tell you, I probably would have laughed if had I been a kid. But I'm an adult. You might not believe it, but it's true. And it's mildly diverting at best. If you're a real kind of like, you just want to consume anything superhero and you're kind of keen to sort of see what, you know, what might be funny. There are a few jokes here, you know, Captain South America, obviously, with a sombrero rather than a shield, that sort of stuff. Again, it's okay, it's mildly diverting. There is quite a lot of visual effects here, but obviously a low budget. I was actually surprised how much there was, if I'm honest. So, you know, obviously it's kind of cheap what you're looking at, but there is a fair amount. And there are some kind of, you know, some mildly amusing powers and stuff like that. But it's really kind of like, the jokes are very juvenile, and most of them, to be honest with you, don't know. I mean, it's not the thing you see on YouTube. Someone doing like a kind of their kind of skit, their kind of parody of superhero stuff. I feel it's a little long as well. This movie could have been, I think, maybe about 70 minutes. I would have thought that would be the perfect time for this one. I feel as it is, it's a little long and could be should be cut down a little bit. But there you go. I'll give it a. I feel like I'm being generous giving this a 4 out of 10. But I feel there may be kids who will enjoy it purely for what it is. So I'm not going to give it too harsh reviews. I feel if it's aiming for kids, then it might actually hit a funny bone or two with them. So with that in mind, 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.